Good evening, everyone. I'm going to give the 1 minute notice, please. If we could all start to take our seats, I'll give the 1 minute notice, please. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 22nd, 2022 Gilbert Town Council meeting. So the second month, the 22nd day in the 2022 year. So today's the day of twos. I would like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And we will first have our presentation of Student Citizen of the Month Award by our Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Vice Mayor Amy Yentes, and it's my pleasure to announce the names of the Gilbert Citizens of the Month this council meeting. The recipients were nominated by their teachers and principals for demonstrating good citizenship and character. We appreciate the opportunity to not only recognize these hardworking students, but also their teachers and the administrators in the school districts and the community. We are appreciative of their efforts and all the good education influence that they have on our young residents. And at this time, we're going to begin our presentation and recognize our Citizens of the Month. And we hope that you enjoy, all of you who are here and also watching at home. For those of you who are receiving an award tonight, a certificate and packet will be sent to you to your school. We definitely look forward to the days when we do these in person and have all the students out to the council meetings. So we'll begin with our elementary schools. First, from Ashland Ranch Elementary, Kyle Fleming. From Bridges Elementary, Levi Bueller. From Burke Elementary, Levi Charles. From Carroll Ray Ranch Elementary, Jaslyn Ortega. From Centennial Elementary, Eden Cousins. From Chaparral Elementary, Zane Ernest. From Charlotte Patterson Elementary, Bo Hobbs. From Christ Greenfield Lutheran School, Colin Dean. From Enterprise School, Riley Maxwell. From Islands Elementary, Aubrey Mazzio. For Group 2, from elementary schools K through Z, we have from Mesquite Elementary, Daniel Arroyo. From Neely Traditional Academy, Isaac Kinnaman. From Oak Tree Elementary, Sasha Landreau. From Pioneer Elementary, Malia Ortiz Figueroa. From Playa del Rey Elementary, Ashley Mitchell. From Rice Elementary, Aubrey Jones. From Riggs Elementary, Samuel Jorgensen. From Santan Elementary, Madeline Yard. From Settlers Point Elementary, Hayden Felix. From Spectrum Elementary, Valerie Bergen. From Town Meadows Elementary, Ty Singleton. From Val Vista Lakes Elementary, Sophie Al-Samari. And then from Group 3, our middle school and high school students, Campo Verde High School, Neri Ann Jeanan. From Canyon Valley High School, Corvette Gray Mountain. From Cooley Middle School, Zachary Zerlane. From Gilbert Classical Academy, Kelsey Kleba. From Gilbert High School, Lydia Arevalo. From Greenfield Junior High, Reagan Johnson. From Mesquite High School, Hunter Fenn. From Payne Junior High, Grayson Carter. From Perry High School, Samuel Stanley. And from South Valley Junior High, Arabella Curtis. So we'll give them a round of applause even though they're not here in person. It is much better when we can see their cute little smiling faces and have them accept their awards. But thank you and congratulations to all of our citizens, and we hope that you keep up the great work and you're making Gilbert proud, so thank you.
Well said, Vice Mayor Yentes. It is so nice to see their little faces in person, but I don't think we'll be doing that for quite some time at this point. But this is a fun way to be able to make sure that they are still recognized and let their teachers be able to nominate them for this great opportunity. Next, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Mayor Yentes.
Please stand and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Next, we will have our invocation by President Trevor Denham from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. If you could come down to the podium, please. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Our beloved Father in heaven, we humbly bow our heads before thee this evening as we meet here as citizens and friends of the town of Gilbert. We thank thee for the abundance of blessings that thou hast given us. We're grateful for this wonderful town in which we live and for the citizens who live here. We thank thee for Mayor Peterson and for the town council and all those who serve this great town. We pray for the health and safety for all of our public servants, police and fire. We're grateful for them and for the work that they do. We're grateful, Father, for this wonderful Light the World campaign. We recognize the light of Jesus Christ that lights this world. We are grateful for the unification that has come through many organizations and those who seek to better the lives of those around us. We are grateful for the generous donations of so many. We ask you to please bless them and their families. Father, we ask you to please bless this wonderful land that we live, the town of Gilbert, the state of Arizona, the United States of America, that thy grace may continue to shower upon each of us. Please bless those who may have been affected by the pandemic or are being affected by the pandemic, that they may find comfort. For these things we pray humbly, Father, in the name of thy Son, even Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, President Denham. We appreciate you coming out and sharing that invocation with us this evening. The first item on our agenda this evening is the recognition for the Light the World campaign. And it is my great pleasure to be able to stand here before you tonight to thank the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the tremendous act that they do to provide these machines in the town of Gilbert and across other locations within the country. I had the privilege of also visiting the machines in Oahu. I was there, so I thought, why not? I had the opportunity, so I did a little photo op there. The church goes above and beyond with providing these machines for people, regular people, to be able to go out and to be able to give back to nonprofits and be able to provide items to those in need, whether it's to a local charity here, a local nonprofit here within our local region that we can see and touch and feel on a regular basis, or to a worldwide organization. And the effort that they go to bring these machines to Gilbert and to those other locations is amazing. Every cent of the donations made goes to those nonprofits and not back to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They provide everything that you see. And then they send on top of it all of their volunteers and all of my missionaries to be able to spend time at those machines and to be able to help the residents and the citizens that have come from all over this valley to be able to use those machines to give back to our friends in need here within the community and, again, worldwide. Every time I use these machines, I think they get a little bit more fun and a little bit easier to use. This time I went and I was able to say, okay, I think I want to spend about this much, so I'll pick this item from this charity and this item from this charity and this item from this charity. And it's so much fun to be able to do and know that those items specifically will get out to those people that need them the most. And whether it's chickens to somebody in part of the world that needs them, or whether it's backpacks for kids that need them to get back to school. I'd like to invite down Elder Schmidt to join me. from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we thank you for your leadership. You were on hand the day that we kicked off these machines, and you did a great presentation that morning right under our beloved water tower in Water Tower Park. And we'd also like to bring down President Wright. Is President Wright here? Yeah. Or his representative?
President Gosland is.
President Gosland. Thank you. And President Gosland is over our Gilbert, Chandler, and Tempe missionaries, which spent a lot of time out at the giving machines over the 5 or 6 weeks that the machines were there total in Water Tower Park. I would like to give the mic to you, Elder Schmidt, so that you can continue on with this.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, and good evening, dear friends. What a joy. Of all of the things that you're dealing with tonight, this is the most fun. I don't know if I'm, Bob Barker or Vanna White, but, when you give away big checks, that's a fun night. And we're so grateful. We're grateful to you and the citizens here in the town of Gilbert and across the East Valley and across the state of Arizona. This partnership of being able to work together with the town has just had a tremendous impact. And Mayor, I'd like to give you a little report. If you, for those that haven't heard this, so we had the giving machines. They were up from just before Thanksgiving until January 3rd, and they raised in that short period of time $900,000. Of that amount, you should know that you talked about your swipes. There were 19,077 transactions and 28,546 items that were actually purchased. Of those, 234,000 were those chickens, or anyway, they benefited our global charities, but nearly $700,000 are actually going to benefit our local charities who will recognize here tonight. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you have Googled Kindness USA? If you haven't, I invite you to do so. I did it earlier today, and if you Google Kindness USA and you go to Google Maps, the address, now I realize we're not there tonight because they're doing a little construction, but it is 50 East Civic Center Drive, Gilbert, Arizona. And this town has been, and I hope always will be, defined by the fact that there is kindness. This is Kindness USA. And that got me to looking in the Bible. And there is a phrase, we think of it as two different words, and it's loving kindness. But 29 times specifically in the Old Testament, that word loving kindness is actually put together as one word. And so if you think about what's happened at the giving machines, those are expressions of loving kindness. And the great thing is, I worry that sometimes people may think, a donation is nameless or faceless, but it's because of the staff, because of the volunteers of these local charities. As these items are given to people, they become the face of love and they become the face of kindness to those who are the most vulnerable among us. So every meal, every backpack, every vaccination, everything that is done has a loving and a kind face to it. And at a time where there's been so much divisiveness and so much rancor, I would just hope that we can continue, not just during the month of December, but all of the time, to ensure that Gilbert always remains and retains that feeling of being Kindness USA, a place where we can have that love and kindness. So Mayor, with that, we have, what do we have? Okay. We would just like to thank you and to thank the town so very much for all that you've done for your support. We have a beautiful ornament. Now, council members, if you'd like an ornament, make sure you ask Fran afterward.
Absolutely. Thank you. Fran, would you like to be in the photo?
Here we go. Thank you.
There will be a lot of photos taken.
We'll have a few photos. Likewise, we want to extend our appreciation to those who have been at the center of these giving machine teams. So from Gilbert Parks and Rec, Rocky Brown and Denise Menden. Murden. That's because my eyesight is going and I either have to put on readers or get bigger font. Well, and I have Melanie's next on the list. Is Melanie here? Our volunteer coordinator? Good evening, Melanie. And we also have the food drive coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Yes. I know I saw it shown on the screen behind me, but again, another opportunity to demonstrate love and demonstrate kindness. Melanie, thank you so much for your support. Likewise, our directors of this Light the World campaign, Trey and Leanne Basha. So grateful for the Bashas and your support. Come on down. Also, those who do everything as it relates to this campaign, Steve and Fran Louder, right here. There they are. J.R. Wright, Jennifer Wheeler, and Tyson Nansel, who have had responsibility for marketing and media, and Brian Solomon, who helped out with construction. Come on down, Brian. Again, this is the team that just put, all the behind the scenes and just helping to make all this happen. So if you can join me in giving them a huge round of applause, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now, if we can recognize our local charity partners. Here, we'll just keep sliding.
Well, we're going to have them go sit back down.
Okay.
Let's take a photo.
Should we get a picture?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Mary, you tell us where we're going.
We're a little bit this way. Come over here. Fran and Steve, come on to this side. Look at just for you. Just for you. Maybe get close together. Closer together. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Thank you. My shoes match.
Thank you. Okay, first off of our charity partners, A New Leaf. And you should know that because of Light the World, A New Leaf will be able to provide 580 veterans with hope and healing services. 778 individuals and families will receive new clothes. 95 families will receive a new home starter kit. 555 persons will receive personal care items. And 2,005 children and others will receive a therapy toy. So we're so grateful to have Mike Hughes, Bridget Talty, and Colette Hatfield here from A New Leaf. And come on over. We're gonna learn how to do this right.
Come on over here, Mike. Hold that big check up.
Okay.
We were going to have a touch to Michael. Don't you have Bridget? Don't you have your team here?
Bridget and Colette, are they both here as well?
Come on, Bridget. Come on.
Come on, Bridget. Come on, that's my name too.
So we can do this. We'll be in your groups together, and then we'll have them all over down.
Right here first is the right camera.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Grateful to all of you. Secondly, with Arizona Brain Food, we have Ruth Collins and Beth Coons. So you should know that because of Light the World, that Arizona Brain Food will provide 3,473 children and adults, allow them to be fed. 339 children will be fed for a year. 1,830 children will receive take-home meals for a month. There will be 396 cases of beef jerky, 1,776 cases of mac and cheese, and 1,740 cases of peanut butter that will provide thousands of children and adults with healthy nutrition. So a big round of applause for Arizona Brain Food. Perfect. Thank you. Now, if you'll welcome Catholic Charities Community Services. We're so grateful to have Karen Bisco with us tonight, Gloria Gomez Torres, and Shannon Hill. You should know that Catholic Charities will be providing 158 refugees with a bicycle. 256 individuals and families will have food and shelter for 1 week. 136 families will receive counseling services. 685 youth will receive sports equipment. And 243 individuals and families will receive a tent and other necessary camping supplies. So give it up for Catholic Charities. Now, if we can welcome our friends from Child Crisis Arizona, Tori Taj and Jody Stoken. Child Crisis, because of this Light the World campaign, 3,108 children will be assisted in various ways. 819 students will receive a school backpack and supplies. 398 children will be immunized. 709 foster teens will receive counseling services. 1,061 foster children will receive new shoes. And 121 children or families will receive a night of safe shelter. If you could join me with a big round of applause for Child Crisis of Arizona. St. Mary's Food Bank. Grateful to have Tom Curtis and Lisa Notaro with us here tonight. Now, together, St. Mary's and United Food Bank will ensure that tens of thousands of children and families will be fed. 2,822 families will receive a box of fresh produce. 55,000 fixed-income seniors will receive a meal. 704 families will be fed for a month. 979 families will receive a full holiday meal. And 1,953 children will receive a take-home meal. Again, if you could express gratitude for St. Mary's. So much. Thanks. And Dave Richens from United Food Bank. They partnered together at the giving machines with St. Mary's and all of those same things that we just talked about. So if you could join me in welcoming and thanking Dave and United Food Bank. Mayor, that's everyone. So again, we just thank Mayor and Council so much for this continued partnership and hope that, again, in 2022, that we can light the world later this year. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I just want to close this out by saying these plaques that we were presented this evening go on a much larger piece that is in storage right now while our town hall is under construction. And so these pieces will be attached to that piece once we move back into town hall. So I look forward to that day when we are able to do that. And I want to say a very big thank you again to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for all that you do and everything that you put into this effort. It is truly a labor of love. And I love being out there, and I loved being part of it. So thank you for giving us all the opportunity to participate. Next, we will ask the clerk to please do the roll call.
Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Amy Yentes.
Here.
Councilmember Scott Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Lauren Hendricks. I believe he's online. We'll see if he can connect. Councilmember Young Kaprowski. Here. Councilmember Scott September.
Here.
Councilmember Kathy Tilkey.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you, Chevelle. I just wanted to do roll call before I forgot and move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the presentation of the annual update by the Gilbert Sister Cities Board and Greg Tilkey.
We'll wait for the slideshow to get up there. But first of all, we're waiting for that. Good evening, Mayor Peterson, members of the council. Greg Tilkey, President of Gilbert Sister Cities. Thanks for allowing me to come by tonight and give an update on an annual presentation. There we go. Oops. By the way, I'll let you know, if you're not aware, in 1956, the Sister Cities Initiative was started by President Eisenhower. He felt strongly that people could do more working people to people than government to government, and I think that's really shown to be very true. By way of background for Gilbert Sister Cities, we started in 1995, and we have two sister cities, one in Antrim, Newton Abbey, Northern Ireland, right outside of Belfast, the second in Lashan, China, which we started in 1998, and started in 2002. So this is our 20-year anniversary of our relationship with Lashan. So we're looking at some things we can do to celebrate. Unfortunately, I don't think they'll be able to make it over here this year, but I think we'll have some other things we'll do online and virtual that way. One of the mainstays of our programs throughout the years have been our Youth Ambassador Program, which was started with Antrim Newton Abbey in 2000, and then in 2010 we started it in Lashan. Over that period, we have exchanged a total of over 140 students between all of the cities. And the exchange is really a life-changing experience for these kids. They come back and we work all year and we get to that meeting in September and they say, I just changed my life. Some of these kids have never traveled out of Arizona, much less the U.S., so it makes a big difference. And unfortunately, the last year, we had the last 2 years, we had four students chosen, but because of COVID, we couldn't send them. So in lieu of that, we gave them a $1,000 scholarship for each of the students. And this year, we're planning on sending kids again. We're going through the process right now of the interview process. And depending on COVID, we'll have some students going abroad this summer. Our very own Vice Mayor Yentis was a member of, she knows I'm going to say this every year, one of the students picked to participate in the program in the exchange in 2005. She traveled to Antrim Newton Abbey that summer. So I know she said it was a great experience for her as well. As far as the year in review, don't need to tell anybody, it was a tough year for everybody this past year, challenging in many fronts, and Gilbert Sister Cities was no different. Like many organizations, we had to cancel a number of our events, but we are getting back to a somewhat regular schedule now, which we're happy about. We're participating in the Gilbert Days Parade in November. We had our Irish holiday social at Christmas time, and this Friday we'll be holding our East to West Gilbert Fest, which I know a few of the council members will be there. Mayor Peterson will be there to say a few words to the group. And that helps celebrate the Chinese community. And we have a unique program planned. If you're not aware, Coronado Elementary School in the Higley School District has a Mandarin immersion program. Half a day the kids spend learning Mandarin, the other half English. So we're going to have kids from that program come and do a martial arts demonstration, a wushu demonstration. And then we also have the traditional lion dance performance from some of the adults who are involved with that program. So we're very excited for that. This year, without a doubt, our biggest project, and probably not only this year, but the history of Gilbert Sister Cities, is our Gilbert Sister Cities Friendship Garden. I'll show a couple slides up here. We've talked about this for a number of years, and timing was just right, so we've decided to move forward with it. It's at the Gilbert Regional Park, and you see up there, give you a little idea, the amphitheater is over to the left of that, or the amphitheater, then the pavilion, and then the lake is right next to, on the left of that screen. And so we'll have a 30-foot mural, and we're going to, along that wall in the back, and we're going to have trees and plants that celebrate our relationship with Northern Ireland and with China, representative of both of those, and some sculptures from each of those communities, representing those communities. The garden's really designed to kind of follow up on the presentation I just gave and talk about kindness. It's designed to celebrate kindness, generosity, diversity, understanding, and togetherness, and we really hope people will grasp that and look at things a little differently as they see the world. Sometimes it's a little challenging for some people right now. I want to thank the Parks and Rec staff for being such great partners on this project. Town Manager Banjer has been great as well. And like most companies these days, we're having some supply chain issues and working through that and cost overruns. But our goal is to open in the first week in May, end of April, 1st of May, in part because there's a strong possibility that our friend from Northern Ireland, Mayor Billy Webb, who's been here before, but he wants to come over and take a look at, no matter what stage the garden's at, he wants to come take a look. We hope we have it all done when he's here, but we'll keep you posted on that visit. Given my background in economic development, we continue to work with town staff to develop relationships, businesses with Gilbert and Northern Ireland and China. And over the years, businesses from both cities come here. We've taken businesses over there and see what opportunities might be abroad for those businesses in Gilbert. In 2018, Newton Abbey sent 15 businesses to Gilbert to help kind of kickstart that process. And we made some great connections. One example was they had a company over that makes solar benches for the parks. And if you go out to Gilbert Regional Park, you'll see a couple of the benches out at the park where you can sit on the bench, plug in your phone while you're watching the kids play. They've also sent a bench for our garden, so that'll be over there in the garden. We also had a business delegation plan to go back to Antrim Newton Abbey in the spring of 2020, and of course, COVID put the brakes on that. But the good news is the companies that we were talking to were still interested to go back, so when it's safe to do so, we plan to take another trip back there. As far as 2022 goes, focus is growing our membership and fundraising, making sure that we have the funds that we need to do what we would like to with the organization. Get back to holding events. That's very exciting. And one real exciting thing for us, Antrim Abbey is planning a delegation visit. It'll be around Gilbert Days this November, so we're looking forward to that. They anticipate to bring on a council, staff, they'll have a new mayor at that time, and also businesses. So I'm guessing we'll have another 24 or so people coming out for that visit. So we're gearing up for that, working with town staff and our board. Youth Ambassador Program, get that back on track, and as I mentioned, the garden to complete that and open it in May of this year. We've had 9 new members to the board in the last 2 years, so a lot of new faces, but it's brought new energy, so we're real excited about having that. And then we appreciate the many contributions that we have a new staff liaison this, Alina Bay. Thank you. There she is. Thank you very much for all you've done. She's just been in there a couple months and is ready to just jumped in and taken hold of everything we've been working on. And of course, Councilmember Tilke, who has been our staff liaison. She's well familiar with the program, not only been to each city, as Mayor Peterson has a number of times, but also very familiar with the program because she's been on the board, I think the 3rd time on the board, so she's familiar with the organization. Thanks to all of you who have always supported Gilbert Sister Cities through your attendance at events and memberships and everything else. Your continued support, very important to us and much appreciated. And the Sister Cities concept of bringing world closer is needed now more than ever. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the program, but thanks for the time again.
Thank you, Greg. Any comments or questions for Greg? Keep up the great work with Gilbert Sister Cities. I look forward to seeing the park, the Friendship Park. I purchased my brick, so I'm excited for that, and very much looking forward to this being incorporated into the Gilbert Regional Park. I think that was a great idea.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg. Oh.
Mayor, I just want a question. Can people still purchase bricks?
We had closed it so we could get the order in, and because of supply chain. But the board has asked if we could maybe open it back up, so we'll look at doing that. And if we do, we'll get it out on social media to open it back up, and maybe a phase 2. They won't be in the rate originally because it takes so long to get them here, but probably phase 2.
Great.
We'll let you know.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep.
Supply chain issues for everything these days.
Yes.
Thanks, Greg. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you. And now we will move on to our communications from citizens. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I hope all these, the good vibes from these last 2 presentations carries over and counts communications from citizens. So this portion of the agenda is to provide citizens an opportunity to identify matters of interest or concern for the council and on items that are not printed on the agenda. So under the provisions of the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the Town Council is prohibited from responding to issues that have not been properly noticed. Therefore, the Town Council may only listen. We may not respond. or address the specific items citizens bring forward beyond just thanking you for your comments. So just so everybody's aware, that's why we're not responding. The town asks that when your name is called, you come forward to the podium, state your name and place of residence, and then begin speaking. We ask all speakers to observe common standards of decorum and courtesy. We would request that you don't use personal attacks, political speeches, threats of political action. That would be inappropriate in this forum, and it would be at the discretion of the mayor to cut a speaker's time short. For citizens who want to participate in this part of the agenda, you should have already signed a form that was out on front, and then mark on that card that you wanted to speak on this item, or this portion of the agenda. If there's a large group in attendance, which I don't think that there is tonight, we would ask that you select a spokesperson. And Mayor, 3 minutes, is that the time allotted? Okay, so for our first person who signed a Citizens for Communication card, we'll have Andrew Adams. So if you could proceed to the podium, again, name, residence, and then you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to address you today. My name is Andrew Adams, and I'm a small business owner, and I own a home in Gilbert. I come today because I am concerned about some of the behaviors from the leadership on the council. First, from a Facebook post, and then from others in my district, I have been made aware of an ethics complaint against the mayor involving a statement she made about having no communication between her and staff on weekends. I was then turned on to a Dropbox file that contained countless pictures of what seemed to be communications between the mayor and staff on weekends. With the amount of taxpayer money on the line, the last thing I believe we need is a mayor who is dishonest, even if certain actions seem mundane. It limits the confidence that she is acting in good faith in other areas in regards to this position. The people of Gilbert deserve a council where its members stand up and hold each other accountable for their actions. So I am asking that this ethics complaint be taken seriously and the people of Gilbert get the respect they deserve. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Jim Torgerson. And then right after that, we'll have Maureen Hopp. I think is how you say the name.
Before I get started, I will say that if those are bricks for the 9/11 memorial, I believe I have the ability to etch those for free, so I wouldn't charge for that if those are presented to me. I'm Jim Torgerson. I live in Gilbert, Arizona. And this weighs on me greatly because I was compelled to do this because I felt it necessary, not because I feel that our mayor's a bad person. I actually don't, believe it or not, Bridget. I requested call logs, emails, and texts, and I don't even have them all yet through the Freedom of Information Act, because I felt that what was said to an investigator, it didn't add up to me. And as you're well aware, I filed another ethics complaint, but at this point, the true failures of the 6 council members who sit in front of me, well, Lauren's not in front of me at the moment. It's a failure of respect for the community. It's a failure to uphold the duties of the office. During the investigation by Frank Cassidy, who was hired by our town attorney, Chris Payne, the mayor was compelled to tell Frank that she typically didn't communicate with staff on weekends. And that's the reason she was speaking to Mr. Morrison about his project that was at odds with the residents of Morrison Ranch. These are the people who felt Mr. Morrison's financial contributions to the mayor's campaign and him chairing her campaign created a quid pro quo, or at minimum a conflict of interest. In no way do I actually believe our mayor got bought for $6,000. I want to make that really clear because I think there's a lot of convolution with that, and even Mr. Morrison doesn't deserve to get beaten around the head and the shoulders for something that seems highly unlikely. The problem I'm having is defending her position, she didn't tell the truth. It's not a small error, as you have hundreds and hundreds of examples of calls, texts, and emails on weekends. Mr. Payne, you're certainly a recipient of those calls. Mr. Cassidy did not do his due diligence, as admitted when Councilmember Hendricks asked him if he verified she didn't talk to staff. And her communicating with staff was critical to determining the truth at that moment, and it wasn't looked into. The cover-up's always worse than the crime. 30 times a weekend is not something that would be considered insignificant. Mr. Maris, the head of development services, who has received calls on the weekend, would have probably been the person she should have called instead of Mr. Morrison. And she probably very much, and for good reason, trusts Mr. Morrison would tell her the truth, at least from his perception, about where they were in process. Mr. Payne read through the report, approved it as accessible, but he gets calls from the mayor when she says she doesn't communicate with staff. Mr. Payne was present when Councilmember Hendricks asked whether it was verified, and he said nothing. That's extremely troubling and should be a topic of discussion in executive session. Mr. Hendricks, you should have pushed harder. Mr. Anderson, while I respect you, you knew better. You just knew better. Mrs. Tilke, forget,
excuse me, Mr. Torgerson, would you wait just a moment, please? I just would like to just take a moment. We made it very clear at the beginning that you are not supposed to be calling people out in this particular forum, and I appreciate you trying to get a point across, but you're doing exactly what we've asked you not to do, and I think it's time that we bring some decorum back to this council. Okay. So I appreciate your passion and your energy, but I would like to just do a point of order, I guess, is what I need to do on that. So please continue. I don't know how much time he had left. Please give him that time. But
I think they're about 20.
Please don't call people out by name in this particular forum, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Let me say the whole process comes into question. If there's a small lie, there's a large lie. Whether anyone believes it or not, if you're being entrusted with $500 million, I want to know the truth. I feel the truth needs to be explained very clearly. I feel every person in this town should be able to trust that what comes out of each and every council member's mouth is the truth, and they believe the God's honest truth matters, and it matters to the people they represent. You're not above the people you represent. You're supposed to be part of their team. And team, they don't lie to each other. They don't allow it to happen. We want transparency. We want the truth. Allowing the behavior to continue makes everyone guilty.
Wrap up your final thoughts, Jim. I think there was about 20 seconds when you got interrupted.
There's no reason to trust anyone up here right now. Every apartment building, developer favor, zoning change, and the like is suspect. Please prove to the people of this town that you take the truth seriously. Whether you misspeak or not, whatever it is, please prove to these people you're up there for a reason, because you believe in the truth and they can trust you. Thank you.
I think that's Maureen. After Maureen, we have James DeVary.
My name is Maureen Hoppy. I'm a homeowner and Gilbert, resident of Gilbert, Arizona. I'd like to say hello to Amy, Scott, Young, Kathy, Scott, and Lauren. Is he by video or audio or anything? Yes?
Yes.
Hey, Lauren. Okay, so I'm going to address all of you, the council for the town of Gilbert. I'm asking you all to reflect and ask yourselves why you chose to run for the town of Gilbert. It certainly was not the salary, or maybe it was. A measly $22,000 would buy a few vacations, wouldn't it? No, it was because you wanted to make a change. You wanted to make a difference in our community. It was because you wanted a voice to be able to make informed decisions for our town, which should be your foremost reason, being of sound mind, to put Gilbert and its citizens first. Each of you need to think about the choices you have made and the choices you will make going forward. This forgive and forget mentality is not working for the citizens. The actions of the mayor to do and ask for forgiveness later is not working. She has continuously lied even while under investigation for ethics violations, and everything gets swept under the rug. Why? What are you all afraid of? Or who are you all afraid of? When will you all stand up for what is right to do your own due diligence? Since when do campaign donors and those with heavy pockets control we, the people, who voted you all in? The continuous blatant lies by the mayor need to stop. I'm asking each of you to stand up and stop the nefarious behavior being conducted right under your noses. I'm requesting for a public hearing into the deceitfulness and ongoing unethical practices going on within our own government. The mayor clearly lied about communication with employees in the town. Records prove that. Each of you is accountable for all actions taken. When can we begin to trust all of you? It's time to clean house and replace each one of you if you cannot stand up, investigate, and request the resignation of the mayor. It is time to put community and the citizens first. Thank you.
My name is James DeVary. I'm a new resident to Gilbert, fairly new, 2 years. I'm here as a concerned father. So recently in my neighborhood, and a few of my neighbors are here with me, we found out there is a home for the handicap or a sober home being built or purchased and renovated right next to our children's playground. It's extremely concerning. So I've reached out to the planning department, or I was connected by a council member to the planning department, and they sent me over information in regards to Gilbert's land development. So I'm asking that we have a discussion on how we can amend the current policy, because right now the only policy for these homes, businesses, are that they're not allowed to be 1,200 feet within each other. So I'm requesting that we discuss how we can amend this so we can at least have these businesses / homes out of sight of the playgrounds, the parks, and the schools, as well as criminal background checks to homes, businesses that are within a certain part or certain distance to these areas. Thank you.
Steph, it sounds like this gentleman has already reached out to you, so I think somebody's probably already working with him, but can we follow up on that one, please?
That concludes our communication from citizens. We can proceed to the consent agenda. Oh, yeah.
Councilmember Hendricks, if you're online, can you please test your audio, see if we can hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, were there any items that council would like to pull off of consent? Seeing none, I just had one. I was going to pull item 5, but we'll entertain a motion for items 3, 4, 4A, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. I believe you will have to cast your vote one more time. I apologize.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously. On agenda item 5, this is a federal grant, and my position is we shouldn't be taking monies from the federal government. That's just pumping out fiat money as quickly as their little print presses can pump them out. And as I typically say, not one drop says that they are the fault of the flood. So I think we should be taking a position and not accepting these monies. So but I'd like to vote separately.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Tilke, seconded by Councilmember September. Please vote. Motion passes 5-2. Thank you.
That concludes our consent agenda, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Moving on to the public hearing agenda this evening. We do have one request to speak for item 22. Does anyone wish to have a separate present? I'll open the public hearing. Does anyone wish to have a separate presentation on 16, 17, 18, 19? I'll leave the rest, I think. Or do we want to wrap any of the other ones up into one vote? Comments, council members?
Like presentations on 20 through 23.
Okay. That's what I figured. Okay. Then I would accept a motion for items 16, 17, 18, and 19. I'll close the public hearing.
So moved.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Anderson. Please vote. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing on items, all of them, 20, 21, 22. Oh, Councilmember Anderson, did you vote? Sorry, I jumped right in. Passes 7-0. Thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for items 20, 21, 22, 23, because I think the discussion will be very similar and connected on all four, and then we'll have to make separate motions to approve those. Do you want a presentation, or would you like to start with questions, comments with staff? How would you like to do this, Council?
I think it'd be appropriate to have a presentation from staff and then questions.
Thank you.
I was thinking a brief overview and then to include the community outreach on this as well.
Thank you. We have Kelly Fost headed down to the podium. Thanks, Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Glad to join you tonight.
Thank you.
There should be some slides popping up onto the screen for our system development fees. And there they are. And okay, we'll just give a brief overview. We've talked about system development fees a couple of times. They are fees that are for new growth and new businesses and residents that come in. They offset the cost of that development on our existing infrastructure to be able to provide, in this case, water to those new residents and businesses that come in. It's the idea that growth pays for growth, and they are calculated to make sure they don't pay for any of an increased level of service or impact that is not related to their development. We update them every 5 years or when necessary. In this case, it became necessary because we're expanding the North Water Treatment Plant from 45 million gallons a day of capacity to 60. And so that additional capacity of water treatment will be used to provide water to the new residents and businesses. This is a long process in public outreach, so we've been working with our different stakeholder groups. We've adopted the land use assumptions and infrastructure improvement plans, so our assumptions for how fast the town will grow and then the infrastructure that's needed to provide services in this area. Tonight, we're discussing a public hearing for the actual fees and how they're calculated. So these are the actual fees. You can see the existing and then the proposed. It is a 36% increase there because that's the cost of infrastructure that is planned for to be able to serve them. Fortunately, some good news. We are anticipating that one of our other fees should be finishing, and then the net impact of the two should help mitigate some of the difference for our development community. So this is just an example for single family and commercial about what the difference would be with the increased fee for water and then the offsetting decrease for the general government fee. And so we're on a public hearing tonight, and then we'll have formal option for adoption, or that action would be taking place on the March 29th meeting. And then if adopted by council, they wouldn't be effective until June 20th of this year. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions at this time? We can always ask Kelly to come back up. Okay, I'll ask the one resident to come up to the podium. That would be Kitty Gabelhausen. Oh, sorry, you're for 22. I'm sorry. Oh, let's let her come up and, yeah. I opened the public hearing for all four, so we'll just let her come up and speak. Sorry if I totally butchered your name. I apologize.
My first name, too.
It's hard to read.
It's Kathy.
Oh, Kathy, sorry. Kathy.
Yeah. I don't have anything fancy. I'm just kind of speaking from the heart here. I'm just a single woman. Everything's going up. I fill my cans up, maybe half, every month. Everybody else's cans are overflowing. They're just wasting water left and right. And I am conserving as much as I can. My bill's over $60 now for under a 1,300 square foot home. I've called before to ask for like a discount, and they gave me maybe $1 discount for the refuge. Prices are out of control. There has to be help for somebody such as myself. There's programs for Southwest Gas and SRP, but there's nothing for Gilbert, for the town that I live in. There's new apartments going up all over the place. It was hard there was a bunch of different meetings today. I could have gone to the Ray and Higley apartment thing. The HOA, there was an HOA meeting. It's like everything is just booming out of control in this climate that we're in. I don't know what to do. I'm out of money. So I'm just speaking from the heart. You were talking about kindness and giving. Everybody's patting themselves on the back. How great we are. Look how much we're giving. What about me? And I'm not the only person. You need to do something for the people who have lived here in your community for years. I've lived in my house for 18 years. And you guys are pricing me out for doing taxes, education. We're educating all these other people's children. People marching across the border, and we're going to be educating them. And then these houses, these apartments, something needs to be done. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for speaking from the heart. Yes, Councilmember Tilke, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Mayor. Rob, I see you there. I think Melanie left, but I wanted to let everybody know that we work with Ascend, and that they operate our CAP office, which provides services and money for residents who have difficulties making their utilities. And so if you wouldn't mind sharing that information with Kathy, I'd really appreciate it. This is a very difficult decision and a difficult time for many people, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tilke. There are programs in place like Ascend that Councilmember Tilke mentioned, and we do realize that there are residents having a very difficult time. Everything seems to be going up right now at the same moment. We're all facing it. We all have bills. We're all facing the increase ourselves, and we know it's very difficult. That was the only public comment that I have. Council, do you want to bring these items back for discussion to the council, or do you have any questions or follow-up, or would you like Eric to make any comments?
I'd like presentations on the other ones as well. I would like to just, I don't have a question for Kelly, but just to comment on 20.
Presentation.
And that's just, I know sometimes it's difficult to, review these SDF changes in totality when things pop up and we have to, reassess the fee, especially in the different areas. I would just say as much as is practical as we can kind of, do them together as much as we can so that there's kind of a broader picture. So for, our development community, when people are purchasing homes, we have a full picture of if this is going up or if it's going down as an aggregate. I think that would be helpful, understanding that this is a little bit different of a situation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Could we have a presentation on, Kelly did 20, 21, 22, 23, please. Eric Brown.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Today, these are items 22 through 24, I believe. These are the steps that we have gone through for the utility rate change process, beginning back in November with presentation at Council retreat with the notice of intent in December. Between December 14th and today, staff has engaged in a lot of activities to get the word out about these utility rate increases with the consideration of rates tonight. If they're approved, they'll be effective April 1st. So what have we done between December and today? Well, we've published the website. We've shown the data. This website has all of our activity and all of the information available for the public to understand all of the data behind the needs for the two utilities, as well as the potential impacts on their utility bills. We've done a lot of outreach to our customers. At the bottom, you see the mailer that we mailed out to every single customer in Gilbert, all 82,000 of them. We have done social media posts many times, publicizing both the notice of intent, the customer workshops that we put in place, as well as the meeting tonight for folks to come out and share their feelings. We did bill messages in 2 utility bill cycles. We did the 4 community open houses that I mentioned. We did those both in person and we streamed them live, all 4 of them. In the communications packet, you saw the numbers of folks that attended. We had less than a dozen in person and about 3 dozen stream live. And then you see all of the other activities, as well as the utility rates webpage views, 3,600 of them. I am personally responsible for about half of them. Because that's where we store the data, I just keep going back to it to find it when I need to discuss it with folks. So we had less than a dozen email contacts, some of which were forwarded from council members to staff to respond to. We had about 10 phone calls that that I personally have worked on. And then, as I mentioned, a dozen in-person respondents and 3 dozen online. And then the themes of those communications from our citizens are included in the council packet today. Not a large response from our community. Again, these are the utilities, the water, environmental services, residential, and commercial. Again, we like to show that if nothing is done, these funds go below minimum fund balance very near term and go below 0 soon thereafter. And if things go as presented, the blue bars, these utilities are projected to be at minimum fund balance within a 5-year planning window. If council wants any more information on this, I'm willing to share anything else.
Anything? Eric.
Solely about the rates.
Eric, do we know how many people accessed the calculator page and used the page to calculate their own bills? I know I did it myself.
I don't have that number broken down, sorry.
I like that tool. I think it was a very convenient tool to be used, so thank you for that. And I had the opportunity to reply to a couple of emails. One gentleman in particular was concerned because he thought the environmental fee was still being tacked on to this, but he's already paying that. And he also thought he had to pay for an extra barrel for an extra $5. And I explained, no, only if you need an extra barrel, then you'll have $5. So it was just a matter of finding out exactly what the needs of individuals were and what their concerns were. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Any comments or questions for Eric? Yes. I was going to say it again. Councilmember Kaprowski.
Thank you, Mayor Peterson. Eric, thank you for your presentation. There was some really interesting slides and information that you had presented at our financial retreat last fall. And I think there's a couple of important points that weren't included in today's presentation related to the comparison of Gilbert to other communities in the region. Could you talk a little bit about how many other communities you surveyed and where Gilbert falls in the ranks among them, even with these increases?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Kaprowski. I have an Easter egg for you. Anticipating that you might bring someone might bring this question up. Gilbert's currently at the very bottom of all of these peer cities in the valley for the same level of service for water, sewer, and trash, with an average water use of 9,000 gallons a month, about $67 a month currently. Projected to go up to $78 a month. Very competitive for the level of service, which I would say is unmatched by our peers.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember September.
Yeah, Eric, is it true that it looks like Chandler's going to be below us for a little bit as we propose this rate increase? Are they also considering rate increases as well?
Mayor and council members, yes, they are considering them. To my understanding, they'll still be slightly below if everything goes as proposed by their staff.
According to their mayor, for the first time ever, they will be below Gilbert, but he's going to declare that they are the lowest city and we are the lowest town. That's what Mayor Hartke told me when we discussed this. They are always in competition with us in Gilbert. Eric, do we provide the same services? Is this the same services, or is Gilbert actually providing even more services than most of the cities and towns around us for this price?
Mayor, thank you for the question. On the water and sewer, that service is very similar across all of these communities. However, our trash service is exemplary. We offer not only trash and recycling once per week instead of having to go down that street twice per week like other communities. We offer the household hazardous waste facility free to our residents where they can drop off all of their hazardous waste. We have a swap shop there. They can pick up recycled paint. And in many other communities, you have to do that on a quarterly basis, or you have to call and make an appointment. Ours is open 3 days a week around the year, as well as our bulk trash service. We offer that 10 times per year. Many other communities offer that either quarterly or a call for service on that. So our environmental services are top shelf.
Thank you for that, Eric. I think sometimes we always believe that we're comparing apples to apples, but sometimes it really is apples to oranges, and Gilbert really is providing a lot more services for the cost of service within our community. And we've also decreased twice over the past years. Could you explain that a little bit, Eric?
Mayor, that's correct. The Environmental Services Residential Fund has had 2 utility rate decreases in 2012 and 2008. Both 7.5% each time. And the reason for that was the fund was growing, the fund balance was growing faster than the needs. And so instead of increasing rates or even keeping rates the same and collecting more money than we needed, we made the recommendation and council adopted the reduction in rates 2 separate times.
Councilmember September.
So Eric, staff does a really good job of looking on the horizon for change and bringing that to council. this seemed to kind of sneak up on us, I feel like a little bit. And I haven't been on council very long. And I guess there were a couple of factors from a water perspective that affected us. There was a burnout in northern Arizona that has caused the water quality that we receive through the SRP canals to require additional chemical treatment, additional rounds of treatment at our North Water Treatment Facility. And these are costs that were not baked into anything, and that it kind of caught us off guard. And then there are some repairs that were needed at the North Water Treatment Facility that we also could not have anticipated. And I know we run a very lean budget, right, which makes surprises more difficult to deal with financially. I'm going to try to frame this to put this into perspective. The current base water rate fee for a 3/4 inch water line is $16.30. The increase takes us up to $21.13, and it's about $5. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but you know, the point that one of our speakers here made tonight, one of our citizens, is that everything's going up. So it feels like it's much more than that. It actually is a 29% increase, which from a percentage standpoint, that's a fairly big increase. What can staff do different going forward to give council and citizens visibility to these changes that we might see coming?
Mayor and Councilmember September, thank you for the question. We did have a significant expenditure in the rebuild of the North Water Treatment Plant. That is the driver behind the need to increase the water rates. That expense is shared among three different areas. One is the system development fees, as Kelly just discussed, for the portion of that project that is related to growth. It's also going to be shared among a repair and replacement fund that's funded through residential and non-residential utility rates. So there is a repair and replacement fund that is built up over time to deal with run-of-the-mill repair and replacement activities for all of these assets that are contained within these funds. Because we're expending much of that repair and replacement fund on the North Water Treatment Plant, we have to start putting back into that savings as well, which comes out of the utility rates also. So the building of those robust repair and replacement funds is very important for being able to weather the normal repair and replacement of the assets. So maintaining that and communicating that balance of that fund and its comparative health related to the total assets that we have in the ground and the useful life is very important. We call that our long-range infrastructure plan. And council has been updated on that frequently and will be again. And so keeping an eye on how well we're doing with that is very important in order for us to even out some of those, what I would call lumpy costs over time. A $400 million treatment plant is a very large lump for any fund to be able to absorb at one time. I think another option as well for us, and we are planning to do, is to look a little bit more frequently at the health of the operating funds and bring that to council instead of waiting until we absolutely have to do something where it kind of removes some of our options for phasing large increases in over time. And that's something that council has indicated is something you prefer for us to do, and we have a tentative plan for how to do that, and we are planning to share that information at the next retreat.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I think we talked about that at the previous retreat, maybe getting an assessment every 2 years instead of longer, and then that would give the citizens an opportunity. And so if we knew a big increase was coming, we could maybe span that across 2 years, is what I'm hearing you saying, or multiple years, depending on what the increase is, to give everybody an opportunity to absorb that into their budgets.
Yes, and that's actually one of the critical pieces of feedback that we did receive from our customers is more time in advance and smaller, more frequent increases.
Eric, did you receive that feedback from just residential customers, or did you get it from commercial customers as well?
It was mostly from the large customers like the HOAs who have a budget that they adopt just like we do. And when they have not factored all of these increases in, it can put them in a tough spot for a year until they can go and add them into their budgets.
Thank you very much for all the background and the information.
The conversation with the HOAs is also that they've already just set their budget for this year in like November, and now we're looking at a change at this point that will affect their budget for the rest of 2022. Councilmember Anderson.
I was just going to say that I think it's critical that we do the long-range planning, especially for water, because you are well aware that we may face some shortages that could cause increases in rates from elsewhere outside of the town, but we will have to absorb those, and that will be reflected in our rates at some point. So I think it's good to do that on a very short time frame rather than a longer time frame, because that's going to hit us a lot sooner.
Absolutely, Mayor, Council Member Anderson. There are a lot of outside forces that affect the cost to provide the utility service, things that are outside of our control. We do our best to plan and prepare for them and absorb them as best we can until we can no longer do it on our own.
Vice Mayor.
Just a quick question, and it's not really related to what the discussion has been so far, but could you just explain the fee for the trash can if somebody doesn't get it out in time? You just, for transparency's sake, and that would be a big change, and I think customer service level, and anticipate we might get a lot of feedback in regards to that.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Yentis. That's a great shift of topic. We currently do not charge a customer if they did not put out their trash or recycle can in the morning in time for us to pick it up, and then they call us to come and get it later in the day. We offer that free of charge. There is a significant cost for that because we have to pull the driver off their route. They have to come back into the neighborhood. We've lost all the efficiencies of going from house to house to house in order to pick up that can. And we've calculated that cost to the utility to be about $50 every time we do it. And so the additional fee that is proposed is a $50 fee just to recoup that cost of that service for us to come back. Now, we have to verify that the can was not out at the time that we drove by, or that it wasn't blocked. We couldn't access it. And so our garbage trucks have cameras on them, and in combination with some software that we are using to increase efficiencies on our routes, we also have the ability to pull up that address if homeowner at 123 Park Avenue calls and says, "You missed my can, it was out there." We can look it up and see if it was out there and we just missed it, we won't charge that customer because that's our fault. But if we pull it up and we see that it wasn't out there, we'll give them the option for us to come back and pick it up, but we'll charge them the $50 fee. One piece of advice that council gave to staff at the last retreat was to phase in those additional fees for service that are kind of considered one-time services, like coming back out to pick up the cans. And so as you'll notice, those fees are not effective until July 1st. That gives us an additional 3 months now that we have done the full utility rate outreach to focus very narrowly some communications on, hey, this will be a change to our customers, so we'd like to just let you know in some additional outreach in social media. And frankly, most of these fees are repeat customers, and so it'll give our customer service staff some time to say, yeah, 123 Park Avenue, this is the third time this year you've called and we've done it, and it's free this time, but in July 1st, it will be $50. So we're going to take an extra step for customer outreach on these additional fees.
And is that time consistent that a driver shows up at the same house every time? I know if they show up, consistently a few weeks in a row at 6 a.m. and so somebody rushed out there and got it out at 5 a.m., but maybe one day they show up at 4 a.m. Is could you just explain the consistency aspect of that?
Thank you again for the question. We do our best, but there's a lot of factors. Changes in routes happen frequently because as we add new customers, we have to adjust routes so that we can maintain efficiency. And so the timing of when the drivers will be in the neighborhood changes. And there are a lot of new drivers that our utility has to put on the road on a very frequent basis because it's a very competitive position to fill. And so we could have weeks where we're training new drivers, which could push it back, it could bring it forward, but in no circumstance should a driver be there at 4 a.m. where they just don't start that early. And so we have instructions on the website that the cans should be out by 5 a.m. in the morning, just so that they're out there and they're ready.
So maybe the next innovation is letting the resident themselves track the truck so they know if they've missed it or not. But I had a question on the software that you mentioned, and does that require the truck driver to stop at every residence in order to actually, record or geolocate or do something to put that into the system, into the software?
So I don't know the exact specifics of if we drive by a house, is the camera going to click, yep, okay, that's where it normally is. I do believe that they do have a marker that they have to essentially mark the location where typically it's put out at a house. And so if the driver stops, we know that the driver stops. We've got GPSs on all the trucks. The communication specifics between geolocation and cameras, I'm not familiar with. We can get back to you, though.
Any other? Yes, Councilmember Toki.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, could you go back to that slide that talks about where the fund will be in 5 years? Thanks. So I think what's important to know is it feels like this came up on us, but I believe prior council has been looking at this knowing that we were going to have to build this water treatment plant in the future. The decision was made that I can only assume that because the fund was growing so fast that we would still be okay if we lowered that fee. And what we're finding now is it's not growing as fast, and now we have additional needs. So I don't know if I'm asking a question or maybe I'm just waiting for affirmation that what I'm saying is correct, but we can see based on this that by 2027, sorry, my glasses don't quite get that yet, but that we're really in the hole at that point if we do nothing, basically. So a couple things in my mind are driving this. It is a longer term look, which we've talked about in our retreat, really evaluating the fee structures much sooner instead of having a one-time hit. I think in hindsight, we probably should not have reduced the rates and we wouldn't have had such a bump. We could have kept those steady, but a financial policy that was approved by a previous council is one that dictates how you're looking at this in the future. And I know we're going to be looking at that as well, but I think that there's certain things in place that allow us to look at this. So it really shouldn't be a surprise to us. We talked about it last year, and we used CARES money to subsidize so we would not have to do a rate increase for a year as we gathered more information about the treatment plant. So I'm going to stop in a minute and you can tell me where I'm wrong on any of this, but I haven't seen you say no yet, so okay, I'm going to keep going. So where was I going with that now? But this enterprise fund is established to be self-sustaining. We don't have CARES money to give now, and so we need to be addressing this within this enterprise fund on how we move forward. And that's why we're in the situation we are today. I think that by us looking at this in the future much more regularly, we won't have this type of shock factor. And I agree, when you give it in percentages, it sounds like a lot. When you say it's $5, it's a little easier to understand. I don't want to discount people in our community that are suffering right now and are having a hard time with all of the increases. Hey, I'm retired. I understand fixed income now, right? And so I feel that $5 just like everyone else does, for sure. But I just wanted to be able to share that information and see if I misspoke on anything. I think it's very important that the public understand why we're doing what we're doing. Even though you've told us several times, I don't want you to think you haven't told us, Eric.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Tilke. You raised the point that had not been brought up, that these are self-sufficient enterprise funds, which means that they do not receive tax money and they do not subsidize general fund services like police or fire or parks. The water fund proceeds go directly to provide the service with the goal of essentially making 0% profit every year. Their goal is to essentially break even every year. And so I think that is one thing that does set us apart from other types of utilities. And it's a worthwhile point. Thank you.
Sets us apart from other cities and towns, too.
Wasn't that surplus in the wastewater fund? Or was the water fund?
Not familiar with a surplus in
when we cut the rates.
Yes, that was in the Residential Environmental Services Fund when we reduced the rates, yes. And I believe I misspoke earlier. I said those rates were reduced in 2018 and 2012, more recent.
Much more recent, and we would have done things differently if we had that great crystal ball. Any other comments, questions for Eric at this time? No? Thank you, Eric. That was a great presentation. Appreciated all of that. Next up, 22? Am I on the right number? I'm lost track. Or is that? No, that was all 22. Any other comments, questions for staff? Anything that anybody would like to bring up at this time, or I can close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion?
Mayor, did that include 23?
No, 23, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep track and I'm losing track. Thank you.
It's hard because they're all...
I know, they're all so similar. A short presentation on 23?
No, I don't think I need it.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we were going to talk about those at the same time.
Yes, all of them from the same time. Yes, thank you. Then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to us for discussion. I want to say the dais, but it's weird because we're sitting at tables now. Who would like to kick it off? We will have to do separate motions for everything individually, but if you want to have general conversation, I think we'd be fine. Yes.
Maybe motion on item 20 if there's no issues with item 20.
If you would like to, Vice Mayor.
Could I just make one comment? Thank you. I always have a really hard time on system development fees because I'm a big believer in growth paying for growth, but I also see the impact of new development. And so I always watch these very, very carefully. And it's always hard to see them increase, and I'll say that. But the one thing that we need to understand is if growth isn't paying for the portion of the treatment plant that we're building it for, what happened is that money has to be absorbed within the current rates that residents and current businesses are paying. And so there's a balance there. I think that we've done a really good job of trying to balance it, as hard as it is for me to vote on an increase in system development fees or any fees, to tell you the truth. But I think that we've worked really hard to balance that. And if you took that system development fee completely out of the equation, we would be towards the top of those water rates for the entire valley. And so I just wanted to point that out, that it's not an either or. You have to balance the both. Thank you.
Motion to approve item 20.
So moved.
Excuse me, Mayor. Item 20 is just for public hearing only.
Oh,
Yeah, and so there's no vote needed
oh,
on that.
no vote needed
There would
on
be
that
on the
one.
rest, yes.
Thank you. Thanks for correcting us. There's so many and they're so similar. Thank you. So 20, no, that's been part of our public hearing. It'll be brought back to the March 29th meeting. Is that correct? I think that's right. I think that's right. I don't, where'd Kelly go? Am I rest? Yes, thumbs up. I got that right. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. So then we move on to item 21, which would require a motion. Do we have any more further discussion on that? Or would somebody like to attempt a motion?
Mayor, I just have one comment. It seems like the town, if you look back on our history, there's been times where councils had to increase fees, and there's been times where we had the opportunity to reduce fees. I would much rather be on the council that was voting to reduce fees, but this isn't that time, and just thought I would share that.
I agree with you. I was on that council in 2018, and again, if we had had that magic crystal ball that we would be able to know what was coming, it would have been a whole different story at that time. It's difficult to increase fees. And I said before, we're all members of this community. We all face the same fees that everybody else does. And as we're watching everything increase in the world, it's affecting everything we do here at the town, whether that's supplies, the supply chain, every cost for service, everything that we're seeing. So it's a difficult conversation. I agree with you, Councilmember September. Any other conversation, or would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd just like to make a comment, Mayor, and I appreciate the way in which these funds are managed. I like the fact that enterprise funds are user fee based. I wish we could basically delineate every line item of government budget to basically user fees. It's a fair way to do things. I do have a concern with these items, and I'll just lump them all together for the purposes of my comments. But we've obviously heard from some members of the community, and that's a reality that people are facing right now with inflation, and some might say stagflation, and it's probably here to stay for now. But I was reading through a later agenda item, which is just an administrative one, our audited financial report, and remarking about how blessed we are as a community to be in a strong financial position, and with strong cash on hand, and we have a lot of assets in this community, and TPT revenues. We get reports from Kelly, and those are coming in stronger than expected, which is a good thing for our community, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But when this was contemplated earlier by council through study sessions and council retreats, we got that tranche of federal money for the CARES Act, and at the time I had suggested that we use some of those monies for maybe some broad-based relief, whether that was rebates on people's utility bills, and there was a number of reasons why that might not have been feasible. Some I think were legitimate. Some of them I maybe take exception to, but I was told that was something we couldn't do. But then later on, it was suggested that we use those CARE monies to balance out and flush out these funds. And so I kind of feel as if, where there's a political will to do so, whether that's using some of the surplus monies we have that, came in greater than expected, or, at the time when we used the CARES Act money, we were able to do that. And I think that was a good call. I think part of the timing on that was because we have been discussing this for a while now. Part of that was kicked down, the road several months because I think we had, a $500 million transportation bond, and we didn't want to be increasing utility rates at the same time. And so some of those, I think, are not good reasons to do that, but they're political reasons to do that. And I really do think if there was a will of this body to look at other solutions, even if it was temporary, even if it wasn't even if it was for just this year, given the, the economic circumstances people are facing, I think that that would be a good thing to do for our citizens and for our taxpayers. And I'll just leave my comments at least on general to the fees. I've had some additional information on more of the environmental side as far as the trash cans. That was brought to my attention just very recently, so I haven't had a chance to ask anybody about it or flush it out. It actually does have to do with the software and the monies that have been spent on that for a non-functioning program. That kind of disturbs me, because I do want to ensure that we're being good stewards of our tax dollars and our user fees. So I know the chart shows we're providing, a service that I think residents obviously value, and for a price that they're willing to pay, willing or required to pay. And I do think that we're going to hear a lot of feedback from this. I think we've done a great job putting it out as much as we can to a public process to garner feedback. Unfortunately for government, I think a lot of those things just kind of, there's so much noise out there. They're just really not noticed until they get that first fee in the mail or by email if you've signed up for paperless. And I think it will shock the system for some and for many residents, and I'm very deeply concerned about that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Tilkey.
Mayor, thank you. Vice Mayor, we've been talking about this for a while, and I'm just curious if you had ideas about how to fund this increase a different way. We haven't heard those yet, and tonight we're here to make a decision. So I'm just curious if you had any ideas of how to use that money and what kind of money would be needed to keep the rates the same.
Councilmember Tilkey, I use the example of the CARES dollars because that was one level of revenue that came in that was unexpected. We didn't, and so then we grappled with what we were going to do with those monies. The projections for revenues for TPT is another thing that has come into the town's coffers that were, again, like the CARES dollars, not anticipated. I'd love to explore a policy where we build in triggers. So, any excess funds that come in that are, aren't budgeted for, aren't allocated for, maybe we do apportion that to balance out to keep our utility rates low. I don't know if that's something that's, I know because we had the discussion about enterprise funds and how we like to account for these things separately. But like I said, that exception to that rule was the CARES fund. So perhaps there is leeway to do something of that nature.
But we don't have that in place now. And so I know that we're going to have a finance retreat and we can discuss it then. But I'm trying to figure out how that impacts a decision we have to make today. Based on when we had our regular retreat, this is the deadline that we imposed upon staff to bring it to us. So I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate us having that discussion because I think it would be an interesting discussion to have and see what we can and can't do. As you know, in the past, when we had some overages, we put that towards our, I don't know, it's PRS. Or,
PRS.
Thank you. To buy down that, which saves taxpayers a lot of money in the long run. And so I know we have some of those things in place, but we haven't discussed this before tonight. And so I'm just concerned that the public may feel that we have this option out there that we don't have at this point. You just brought it up tonight in regards to a vote that we're making tonight.
Mayor, Councilmember Tilkey, I think we always have an option. We all have, people that we represent in this community, and we have an opportunity to vote our conscience. So I don't look at this item and say this is our only option. I don't feel compelled. I understand, the information that's been provided, but again, I think that if it was the will of the body when these things come up, to explore other options and say, hey, as the legislative body of the community, we're not going to entertain a rate increase. We're going to look for other, I think we would do that. But I don't think that's been the mandate of this council, and I'm typically a minority voice up here, so.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to be having a debate up here with everybody, but I just wanted to better understand that when we had a council retreat, I think we missed the opportunity, if you felt strongly about it, for us to have this discussion in the meantime instead of allowing this to get this far and then providing that we should be doing something different is all I'm saying. And so I'm trying to figure out how we can be better at making sure we hear other options earlier in the process instead of the night that we need to vote, or that we agreed that we would vote on it. That's all.
I appreciate that feedback. I know there's been study sessions we've had on the budget. I've brought specific items forward. There generally hasn't been a desire to explore those options to cut or to reevaluate where we're spending money. And so, again, I think there tends to be a philosophic difference on this, and that's okay. So, again, I think it's a matter of if there was more, desire from other council members when these things came up, that we simply, just did not want to entertain the notion of raising fees or, just accepting a budget without digging in and maybe looking for further ways that we can, evaluate FTEs. And that's off topic, so I don't want to get into it, but those are examples of, you say that you're only hearing this tonight. I understand that. I appreciate it. But again, I'm in a difficult position of what my dad would say, spitting into the wind in some cases. So, at the end of the day, like I said, we're all going to vote our conscience.
I'm sorry, last comment, Mayor. And I don't need to have the last word, Vice Mayor, so please feel free. I just want to let you know that I hope that if you feel passionate that we need to take a longer look at something when we have those discussions, that you will talk to others of us and ask us to bring it forward in a study session or anything in the future, because I think it's really important that we're all heard and that we all have the opportunity to explore different options. And I just want you to know that we're open to doing that. So a lot of times when we're in those retreats, we have so much information coming at us, and a silence sometimes may be taken as, okay, we're moving forward. And I just don't want you to feel like you don't have a voice that you can say that. That's all. So I just want to encourage you.
Councilmember Anderson, do you have your light on over there?
I probably do, but
did you want to speak?
I don't know that I want to say. It's what the Vice Mayor is bringing up is a much broader issue than really what we're talking about tonight, I think. And it would be good to talk more about it.
Councilmember September, Councilmember Kaprowski, any comments?
I think most of the discussion for me was accomplished during the question and answer period with staff. I think this is a really important part of our work with the town, is to make sure that these funds are funded so that our community has these services. Gilbert has a wonderful quality of life, and it is our responsibility to maintain that. So we have a wonderful, provide a great value for the fees and taxes that our residents pay.
Thank you. Councilmember Hendricks, do you have any comments?
Not at this time, thank you.
Councilmember September, anything further?
No, Mayor, I mean, just to reiterate that we walk it's a balancing act, right? I've heard everybody say that tonight, managing these fees against the expenses of operation. And when an organization runs as lean as we do, that balancing act has very little margin. And so difficult decisions like the one that we have tonight get presented. So, like I said, I'd still rather be on the council that reduces fees and has to consider that one day, it'd be nice to be able to do that. Thank you.
Well, let's hope that that happens in the next couple of years if things are able to change, if we make this motion tonight to actually increase these fees. But we do have policies in place that to handle situations like this, and that's what we started this discussion many months ago about what the best way to handle the increased need would be as we saw it coming, and that the water treatment plant that definitely needs an overhaul and will create a situation where we have more water and much better quality. The quality of water that's going into that has been diminished, and we need to make sure that we can provide the best quality water to our residents. That's number one, that they are able to turn on their faucets and they expect a quality of water from us, and it is our responsibility to make sure we get there. And if anybody would like to make a motion, we're on item 21.
I'll move to approve item 21.
In a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kaprowski, seconded by Councilmember Anderson. Our screen's timed out. Please vote. Motion passes 5-2. We do have a financial retreat coming up in just a couple weeks that we will be discussing a lot of these items at again, because this will be an ongoing discussion as we move forward. Item 22, if somebody would like to make a motion.
I move to approve item number 22, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember, motion from Councilmember September, second from Councilmember Kaprowski. Please vote. Motion passes 5-2. Item number 23. Can I have a motion, please?
Mayor, could I just make a comment before we do that?
Absolutely.
This happens to deal with the commercial environment services, right? And so many people may not know that businesses have a choice whether they use the town services or a private carrier. And so in this particular case, the town has to be competitive or we lose customers. And so I believe they've spent a lot of time making sure we are competitive. But the fact that we are able to, I say we, like I'm still in the business community, I apologize. The business community can choose to get another carrier. I feel like these are reasonable rates. And with that, I'd make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Tilke, seconded by Councilmember Anderson. Please vote. Motion passes 6-1. That concludes our items on the public hearing portion of our agenda this evening. We'll move to our administrative items. We have the annual presentation of our audited financial reports, and I see Tanya and Hawken walking down to the podium to make this presentation and introduce our guest that is here from the auditing group that does this audit for us annually. And we will require a motion on this after we have our presentation. Hi, Hawken, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to take just a brief moment. We do have a presentation to focus on this annual report. I just want to take a moment and say thank you to our amazing accounting team. The audit is one of the most critical documents that Gilbert produces, and it really fortifies and emphasizes the financial strength, but also the transparency, and that we are auditing and reviewing and reconciling everything that the town does financially. And it's a tremendous feat, and it takes an enormous amount of work and effort. And Vice Mayor, it warms my heart to hear you talk and reference that, and so that brings a smile to my face. And so Tanya and her team just do an amazing job. She has a brief presentation, and we'll hear from our auditors, but just thank you for all that they've done.
Thank you, Hawken. Appreciate that. Hi, Tanya. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Whoa, that's really loud. Sorry. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Tanya Wright. I'm the accounting manager in the finance department. I'm here tonight to present to you our comprehensive annual financial report and audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021. Before I jump into the meat of the presentation and the results of the audit, I just wanted to go over the roles that we provide the town and our residents in the accounting division. I won't go over them all, but I just wanted to highlight a few of them. So up in the upper left-hand corner is what we're most known for, is recording transactions. As Håkan spoke about, we record hundreds and hundreds of thousands of transactions each year. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg of what accounting does. One of the other areas that we spend a lot of our time on is compliance, and just ensuring compliance with laws and regulations, but also other things such as debt covenants and grant agreement stipulations. And then moving on to another key area we provide information is historical data. So our historical financial data is the basis for the beginning of the year budget preparation. We have to know where we've been to know where we're going to go. So it's extremely important that that information is accurate and that we provide accurate information. We also provide information to various boards and commissions, such as the Health Insurance and Workers' Comp Trust Board, to make decisions on rates, et cetera. So we provide a lot of information internally and externally. And then speaking just about our comprehensive annual financial report, this is used in a variety of ways, and thank you, Vice Mayor, for looking at it. I appreciate that. Mostly for accountability. It provides our citizens a method of transparency to see what we did during the year and how we performed as an organization. And it's also used as for investors in both the secondary and primary bond market to determine if they want to invest in our bonds. So how do we do it? We take a bunch of information, and there's obviously more than one person that does this, and then we create this document. And it is a comprehensive document. As you can see, these are the various components of it, and it's more than just a basic set of financial statements, a profit and loss, and a balance sheet. It contains various information such as commentary on the local economy, on economic development, on next year's budget, on large financial transactions that may have occurred during the year, and kind of highlights those. It also contains specific data about important information in dollar amounts in our financial statements, such as our debt, and really goes into more detail on that. And then lastly, it interestingly contains statistical information on both operating and financial data for the past 10 years. So if you're bored at night and want to peruse that, it contains some interesting information. So to quickly go over our audit results, once again, we received a clean audit opinion and there were no material weaknesses identified during our audit. And what that signifies is just that our financial statements can be relied upon to make decisions. And then thanks to the legislature this past year, I also want to state that we were in compliance with all state law, and specifically in reference to ARS 41-1494, which was created with House Bill 2906. Our Chief People Officer, Nathan Williams, I'm speaking for him, he said it was okay, has done a thorough review of our training materials, handbooks, personnel policies, and verified that to best of our knowledge and interpretation of the statute, we are in compliance with that. I do want to note that there was one audit finding, and it was a significant deficiency in our internal controls. As accounting was creating our documents and creating our financial reports, we discovered that we didn't have information necessary to record assets that were contributed by developers. However, since we brought this to the auditor's attention, and this wasn't something that they discovered, it did not affect our audit opinion. We still received a clean audit opinion, and there was not a material misstatement. It did require us to institute a corrective action plan, which is already underway and we're almost complete with. And we gathered stakeholders from various groups that compile this information and provide it to accounting so that we can record the revenue from developers. And we are doing that to ensure that this does not occur in the future. And if you have any specific questions or want to look at that in more detail, it's located in the single audit reporting package in your council packet. And next, I'll quickly hand it over to Jim from Heinfeld and Meach for his report on the audit.
Mayor, members of the council.
Jim, I think we need you a little closer to that mic or to get turned off. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Sorry. So I'm just going to run through the 3 reports that we issued that should be included in your packets. And the first one being our audit opinion, which is included with those financial statements, which Tanya referenced. That would be on page 11 of the financials. And as she mentioned, we issued a clean audit opinion, also known as an unmodified audit opinion. The only thing else I'd like to point out in that document, because you may see it pop up in a few other reports, and that is the paragraph titled Change in Accounting Principle. And so I just want to address that. It really had a minor effect on the town, but what that was a new standard that the GASB issued this year. And what that was over was fiduciary activities. So, and Tanya, jump in if I'm out of line here, but the town previously reported some agency funds, one of those being a flexible spending account, and this is just a presentation thing for the financials. And it was previously reported as an agency fund, but under this new accounting standard, it gets kind of folded into the general fund, that activity. But like I said, very minor amounts to consider there. So then the next report I'll talk about is the single audit reporting package that Tanya also mentioned. This is, the town is required to get a single audit under uniform guidance, which is due to the amount of federal funding that you receive. And our first report in there is our report on internal control over financial reporting. And in this report, we did note the one audit finding that Tanya mentioned, and that was a significant deficiency. It was not a material weakness, and it had to do with those infrastructure assets that are contributed by developers, which was not captured and reported in this year's financials. And then the second report that's part of this document is our report on compliance with your major federal programs, which we had no deficiencies to note in that report. And then the final item that was in your packet tonight is just our communication letter to governance. This is just required under auditing standards, and it just kind of summarizes the results of the audit. It discusses any significant estimates that are included in the financial statements. If there was any disagreements with management, we would note that here. Happy to report there was nothing like that. And then it also discusses independence requirements and how we meet those as the town's auditors. So before I hand it back over, I'd just like to echo Hawken and congratulating the accounting staff for their hard work on issuing the financial statements. It really is a large document, as I'm sure you've seen. A lot of time and effort goes into this.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate that. And thank you for hanging out with us tonight till 8:30. I appreciate that too. I always think that we should have him during the presentations portion of the agenda. Can we remember that for next year, perhaps, Tanya?
Well, unfortunately, because of the House bill, we had to do it at the end, yes.
Thank you.
I know. I told him I was sorry.
We appreciate your time, though.
And I'll just quickly end with this. We once again received the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is a mouthful, for the 30th year in a row for our fiscal year 20 comprehensive annual financial report, and we expect to receive that again for our fiscal year 21 report. And that really is the highest form of recognition that any finance department can receive. Just speaks to the quality and hard work of the accounting division. So thank you for your time this evening. Before I leave, I just want to thank my staff in the accounting division. They're amazing. They're extremely dedicated people. And I'd especially like to thank Anthony St. George and Nick Baldelli for their expertise in preparing this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Does anyone have any questions for Tanya at this time? Seeing none, I appreciate all that you do and your department. Please let them know that we appreciate everything, and congratulations on that recognition that you've received for 30 consecutive years.
Will do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
Mayor, can I make a comment
sure.
first?
Please.
I wanted to congratulate the staff as well. An audit is so very important to us, to every business when they go through that. And the fact that I did read each of those reports, by the way. I don't know why I'm geeky like that, but I am. I did read all of it. And I appreciate the transparency from the staff and from the report. This significant finding, the way they word things in audits always sound ominous, but it was something that we pointed out to them, and they had to include it in the report. It wasn't something that they found that we weren't doing right, and I think that speaks really highly to our staff and our willingness to be completely transparent on our financial management. The fact that we continue to receive awards makes me feel comfortable and thankful that we are managing our money the way that we should be for our taxpayers. And if there weren't any comments, I'll make a motion to approve the report.
I say go for it.
Just one quick. I just wanted to just recognize the accounting team again. They did an amazing job, and to have a third-party auditor come in and talk about specifics about what a great job they did is also refreshing. It's impressive. I'm very proud of the accounting team, and I'm also very proud of all of Team Gilbert. All 15 lines of service have to report data, capture it, and report it up in a consistent manner every year for that information to be accounted on. And I think we're doing a good job, and just want to thank everybody, and thank you, Patrick.
Any other comments? No.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Tilke, seconded by Councilmember September. Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. We now move on to boards, commissions, and committees. Any reports from council liaisons on any of your boards, commissions, and committees? Oh, Councilmember Kaprowski.
Yes, Mayor, I would just like to mention to council and the public that public outreach is currently ongoing for the Gilbert Transportation Master Plan. There's a website where there's an open house, www.gilberttransportationplan.com, where comments will be accepted until March 4th. We also have some public outreach related to the Ocotillo Road Bridge, where the public can review and vote on 4 different design options that will be narrowed down to 2 options. And I believe that is also still live right now.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other updates? Seeing none, I'll move to communications, reports from the town manager and current events. Thank you, Patrick. Next, a report from members of the council on current events. Seeing none, report from the mayor on current events. First, I want to thank the staff for Student Government Day last week. That was a blast. The students are amazing. We are in good hands with our future with the kids that are in Gilbert, I will tell you. The staff did a great job prepping them for a couple of cases, and they did a mock council meeting, and they were just very thoughtful in their comments and everything that they did, and fun to watch, too. Also wanted to send out a thank you to, I received a commendation from a resident that took a fall in her home, and we know that that's the number one thing that Gilbert Fire responds to. And she sent back to a big thank you to Station 3 crew 253, including Captain Nick Destrini, Engineer Hyde, and Firefighter Ebner. And I've sent that off to the chief so that he can share that with the team so that they will get that great recognition. Also wanted to mention that this Friday and Saturday, we will be having a community-wide food drive. You see it on your screen here. If you go to gilbertfeedingfamilies.com, gilbertaz.gov and /feeding families, or just put in food drive in the search bar. It will give you a list of all of the locations that you'll be able to drop your donations off. It's many churches in the area. You can also make a cash donation if you would like to do that. Today, there was a full-scale triennial exercise at Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport that was kind of awesome to watch. And they simulated a plane running into another plane on the runway, and the agencies that responded, big fire broke out, mock oil spill or fuel spill. The agencies that responded included Mesa, Gilbert, Superstition Fire, Queen Creek, Phoenix, and Chandler, along with the Phoenix Mesa Gateway team. And they were out there for a few hours this morning, and it was, like I said, it was really fun to watch. So I wanted to thank everybody for the allowing us the opportunity to thank and notice the nonprofits tonight for the Light the World campaign. I think we saw an amazing display of charity at the beginning of our council meeting that our residents really come forward, and not only Gilbert residents, but people in the whole East Valley come to visit those machines, as you could hear, with over 19,000 purchases on the giving machines over the holidays. And we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you.